Welcome to the grim darkness of the far future, where there is only war. And a bit of DIY. My name's Tom, but people call me Mad Cat. Welcome to the channel of the Mini Mad Cat. In this first video of a 3-part series, I'm going to take you on a journey that began in 2020. It all started with one half of a PC monitor box complete with its polystyrene insert. Today, I'll be showing you how I transformed this humble package into a Starch Manufactorum for Necromunda. A compact, portable gaming table that's both scratch built and kit bashed, or as we call it, scratch bashed. But before we dive into the build, don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, and leave a comment down below. If you would like to support the channel further and get exclusive content, join me on Patreon, where something new is released every day. And if you're into live streams, come say hello on Twitch, where I should be live right now. Links in the show notes down below. Now, let's get into the project. I wanted a small, expandable gaming table that harkens back to the old days of building terrain from whatever scraps you had lying around. And when I received my 4K PC monitor, I knew I'd found the perfect base. Not the monitor, but the box it came in. The polystyrene insert had 4 rounded rectangular voids, which instantly sparked the idea of creating large vats, essentially the heart of a future Starch Manufactorum. For those of you who might not be familiar with the lore, Starch is a staple food in the dystopian 40k universe, made from processed human remains. And yes, if that sounds familiar, it's because it's a grim nod to the cult classic Soylent Green.
You gotta tell them, Soylent Green is people!
In Necromunda, the dangers of falling into toxic pits are well known, but I wanted to do something a little different. My mind wandered to the grim idea of how one might actually produce Starch. With my limited and maybe slightly misguided understanding of nutrition, I envisioned a process that involved enriching the Starch with questionable blue-green algae, requiring water to carry and mix the ingredients. So, I designated the 4 voids in the insert, 2 for receiving and grinding flesh, 1 for processing sewage into what we'll generously call potable water, and the last as an algae farm. These components would be connected by pipes, leading to a sanctified machine, or perhaps not so sanctified, that would produce barrels of Starch, ready for distribution across the hive. I started adding details with railings made from chicken wire bent into shape, and began working on the butchery floor, complete with meat transportation pipes. However, the butchery floor evolved significantly later in the build, especially when I opted for Zone Mortalis tiles instead of making all the details from scratch, a decision that saved a lot of time and effort. I drilled holes for the meat pipes, built stairs for easy access to the butchery floor, and marked out exits and entrances, including 2 bulkheads at either end. On one side there's a large unsealed opening with a ramp, likely leading to the storage and distribution area. On the other side, I handcrafted a functional vault door. Well, sort of functional. It doesn't actually lock, but it looks cool. The vault door was a bit of a Frankenstein creation, made from parts from a pair of broken Betron overhead earphones, plasticard, and plastic tubing. I added gears inside to give it a more industrial look, and attached wooden dowels to depict heavy ceiling bolts. I wanted walls around the entire structure, so I made 1 part press molds of bulkheads, light fixtures, probably from a Rhino tank I think, and some Imperial Ikeas. Using the 5mm black craft foam board, I built a central core for the exterior walls, detailed with the bulkhead impressions I had baked from Super Sculpey. The exterior was then detailed with light fixtures and Ikeas, and I sealed the monitor's box's open edges, binding the walls to it at the same time. I drilled holes under each light fixture and inserted garden wire, though, in hindsight, making the exterior lights into LEDs would have been even cooler. I added steps up to the vault, allowing for model bases to slide under the first step for stability. I also built generator blocks to power the grinder turbines, but later removed them as they bottlenecked the internal gantries. Floor tiles were made from cardboard and plasticard, with rhinestones for rivets. These took ages to measure and fit, but ultimately they were all replaced with Zone Mortalis tiles, as my handmade ones didn't quite capture the gritty, metallic, cluttered feel of a hive set in the 40k universe. And then the project stalled. Life got in the way, and about 22 months later, in February 2022, I found myself needing to finish this board as part of my portfolio for a potential role in Games Workshop's creative departments. Despite rushing to complete it, the board remained incomplete by the time of the interview. Vats barely filled, no rust, no weathering, and no blood splatters. While it demonstrated some skill, it also highlighted my lack of organisation and planning. The interview went well, but my work was overshadowed by another candidate. Since then, the board has languished, collecting dust and deteriorating. But today, that changes. Here's the plan. In this video, we'll finish the ground floor except for the resin pours, which will come at the end. In part 2, we'll tackle the butchery floor, adding tables and other details. Somewhere here or in the next part, a butcher figure might appear. Finally, in part 3, we'll bring the two floors together, complete the resin pours, and make the whole thing wall mountable for storage. To get the ground floor up to speed, we'll add weathering, grime, rubbish, body parts, broken machinery, and general grime. We'll be using bits and gribblies, super glue and bicarbonate soda, sponges and an old toothbrush to daub and flick paints with, and enamels from AK and Dirty Down's effect paints to maximise the weathering. I'm going to get all the materials I'll plan to use out and work relatively uninhibited here. Hopefully this all works. Paint fearlessly, as we say. Right, so let's just carelessly drop this top floor off behind. There you are. And that's a little metal tray of Gribblies and ground scatter and pipes and things that I'm going to be putting down and finding places for. We've got a console interface and the Necromunda board that we've got put down there. We'll be gluing that in place in a second, just cleaning up a second one to go over there on the opposite side. I think I glue these down, one facing one way and the other facing the other, like in a not symmetrical orientation, but there you go. Putting another console down next to the big vault door. Putting the first console down next to one of the bulkheads. And gluing the next one down next to the other bulkhead. Now, there's a lot of footage coming up, so we start speeding it up in a little moment. I'm just going to take that little metal tray of Gribblies and ground scatter and find places for it. I'm making a little meat pile over there at the moment. I've used some milliput and mixed it up, and I think a little piece of something from Crypt Horror from the what is it, Games Workshop's Flesh Eater Courts faction. I use a little bit of that, sort of make it look like some flesh has dropped out of the pipe and hit the side. Rather messy occasion. I've thrown down a little couple of bits of, like garbage, basically. Little bits of metal and plastic and all sorts. Little bits of food trays from takeaways and some 3D prints here going down. And we'll return to normal speed. But I think in reality, there's just so much footage to capture to put in this video. We're going to speed more of it up. I'm just taking some pins out from some containers, some bucket containers, pots and buckets and compressed canisters and all sorts going down, and bits of cork and inside bits of watches, cogs, and I'm using super glue and bicarbonate of soda to concrete them all in place and make it look like they've sort of got a build up of guff and rust and horribleness around them. Right, I'll start speeding the rest of this up. If there's anything particularly interesting, then I'll stop it and slow it down and comment. But that's more or less what we're doing for a little bit. Right, here we are about to trip ourselves up. Trip up future Mad Cat when it comes to putting the stairs down. Because we end up gluing this a little close to the center of the walkway. I think. We'll find out later. I don't actually know, because we haven't gotten to that point yet in the build. But I think I glue it slightly to the right, a bit more than it needed to be, and I'm going to scupper myself, but we'll find out anyway. Oh well, here you go, straight away there's a bit. Basically there's a few different things I'd quite like to pop inside the vats. Maybe a little dude like that one, or maybe some really scary, gory, nurgly bits that are kind of climbing out, like a face connected to a hand. But well, I think we have to paint these bits separately and put them in before the resin pour if we're going to do that. So this just becomes an exercise in placement. So let's just carry on. So I'm just putting a little bit of pipe there to the side of the shit pipe. Another little tiny poo or wee pipe. I don't know what it'll be, but it'll definitely have some sort of excrement coming out of it. Put a little pump at the end for the water to come out of. We're starting to put bicarbonate of soda into the super glue, the areas we super glued, and secure everything fully in place. I'll have to turn the board up eventually and hoover it off, which is coming up now. Alright, I'm going to speed up this hoovering, definitely. Everything's done, and now we're getting to the airbrush. I'm using an old cheap Chinese airbrush, the primer, which I've had for a long time. I've given it a very rudimentary clean and made sure that it was pushing thinner, and ultimately I don't think I thinned down the primer enough. We end up with blockages, which will come up in a little bit after we start spraying. About halfway through is where it'll start to block up, so we'll speed it up, and that'll probably be right about now. And so then we swap out for my Harder and Steenbeck Ultra instead. And yeah, that works a lot better, but I still think I probably should have thinned the primer down a little bit more. So yeah, we just get everything primed up that's been laid down with black primer. We've got to turn the board again on its end. A lot of this is out of shot. Once we turn it on end, just to get the other angle, we can't reach from where we are. And then we cover it all in Doomball Brown, or not all of the board, the parts that we've just put in and primed. And the reason we're choosing Doomball Brown is because a lot of this stuff is sort of meant to represent like either piles of blood or piles of rust, and it's not a bad middle ground for both of those things as a colour. It covers really well. You know, you get opacity over black with one coat, if you don't really thin it down too much. We'll get all of that done. It's a lot of Doomball Brown. Well, I say a lot, but it's a lot of areas with Doomball Brown, but we don't actually end up getting through too much. Then we mix up a wash. Wash has got Doomball Brown and the 2 warm greys, the dark and just the warm grey. So, is it warm grey and dark warm grey by Monument Hobbies Prochrome. And I mix that up with a little bit of my handmade thinner and a little bit of isopropyl. I think just so it thins it out even more and makes sure that it gets in all the cracks nice and easily. Spend a lot of time mixing that. And then just get that all over the walls as much as we can. And then we towel it all off with kitchen towel, which was maybe not the most efficient choice of material for cleanup. Realising I was going to be hand mixing even more wash, and whatever I was going to do with the wash was ultimately going to be overshadowed by what I did with Streaking Grime, I grabbed myself a bottle of Streaking Grime and I start working with that. This is going to tie all of that Doomball Brown in very quickly. So yeah, we're literally going to cover the board in Streaking Grime and then clean it up a bit. But the idea is for it to look filthy. That really is the idea here. I've got a bunch of other weathering effects, enamels from AK, which we will use, I'm sure, on other things. I know we end up using the what is it? It's another different. It's not Streaking Grime. It is kerosene. Streaks and what is it? Leaks and stains. Kerosene leaks and stains. So we'll use that later on. And yeah, you can see that we've absolutely covered the board, poured it into places, and we're just spreading it around. It's pretty low on my pot, having used it on quite a lot of stuff recently. The Fallout board video will be up in the corner somewhere here, and I use them for some of my Fallout minis. So we were pretty low anyway. Can't think what else we've used it on in the past, but definitely those things. Now we're going to do the walls as well. On the outside, what the aim right now is literally to completely saturate all of the board in Streaking Grime. Once it's done, we grab paper towels and mineral spirits, artist's mineral spirits, odorless artist's mineral spirits, and just use a brush, put that around the board in places, and then daub it off with kitchen towel. Again, wonder if maybe I should have been using something else at this point, because we get through a few pieces of heavy duty paper towel. But I don't know, if anyone's got any ideas on what might be more efficient, then let me know in the comments down below. Honestly, that's more or less it. We put some kerosene staining on here, as I mentioned earlier. That goes onto the ship pipe. I think. Is this? This is rust from Dirty Downs, isn't it? It's not kerosene stains. It's rust from Dirty Downs. So there you go. It's Dirty Downs rust effect paint that we're using here on all of the metallic objects. Everything's kind of metallic, almost, I suppose. Maybe not. All of the machinery pieces That's it. And all of the portholes and vaults on the vault door, I think, as well. So any exposed metal. There you go. Oh, I got there eventually. Any exposed metal. As opposed to... and steel specifically, I suppose. Because there's a lot of what could be copper or brass on the floor. And we will probably come to rusting that up with verdigris possibly at some stage. And there we have it. The ground floor is complete, as far as it can be, until the final assembly and resin pours. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments down below. Don't forget to subscribe, hit like, and click the bell for notifications on the next release of this series. And if you want to support the channel, join the Patreon. There's something new being released every day there. Thanks for watching. I'm the Mini Mad Cat. See you in the next one, and remember, question everything and have fun.